So I'm being warned by Reddit though as well that, you know, well, I mean, one commenter's comment was then you realize that Sony only offers two major upgrades and then you don't ever come back to Sony again, which means, effectively 14 was already one upgrade and so now we're only going to get one more at this point and then it's going to be Android, 15 as the final version on the 5. You know, the 1.5, from them. And, I can live with that until about like 2026 in August, whenever I decide to, upgrade. I don't particularly like the short term life, cycle support on this side of things in terms of hardware and software updates. But, um, I'm a custom ROM person anyway, so I'm going over to Lineage in all likelihood. Like so that'll help with some quality of life, related stuff, in terms of the lack of support for the next, couple of years with the whole thing. Like, but on top of all that, and that obvious, particular insight and everything, like I've always been a custom ROM person. I mean, to tell you the truth, I mean, if I were to share my story, I would talk about I got into the PlayStation 1 hacking a while back. It was not modern era, like way back in like, early aughts time period. And, I got pulled into that scene, I think, in part because I was looking for, a PlayStation that was modified and, pre-modified and everything. And it kind of pushed me eventually towards the Catella, you know, uh, action replay reflashed cartridges and everything. And I got this little thing that was called the PC comms card that you attach to a computer via like the PCI, the original PCI generation. Because hardware's come a long way since then, and you plug it into that, and then it has a parallel cable that run into the back of the old style Game Shark cartridges, but really I think Action Replay stuck with that longer, but that was the UK variant of, this whole thing. And, when it plugged into the back of it, it could send codes to the thing and program it, but it could also, effectively reflash the ROM that was on the damn thing. And there was this one custom piece of ROM that you could flash to it that was known as Catella. And, you may have been like a very specific version of it, but it could stop the disk and everything. And you could also put codes into the whole thing and and play backups and everything and imported games that way. And for me it was cool. It was nice to be able to import things and play imports and everything else. And I'll just leave it at that. I mean, I had access to whatever I wanted at that point. And it was great. It was great fun. I mean, it kind of got to the point where it was like, who needs drugs when you've got mod chips, and things like this, and this disk stopper thing, and these kinds of skills. And it really that kind of became one of my little jokes and jips, just as a a quip, as a joke, about the whole thing about who needs drugs when you have mod chips and everything. And so I was able to get all these games for basically free, and or damn nearly. And you know I I had that whole thing, but it got me into the whole world of custom ROMs. And then one day I had an iPod and I was looking at it and I figured out that you could reflash it with Rockbox, and that's exactly what I did to the thing. And it was great moving files over and everything. So I got turned on to the world of like firmware rewrites a long time ago, and everything. And so when I came over to the world of phones, it was like the fact that I can't do this with an iPhone and everything was just incredible. It was like I'm supposed to be root over these devices, why can't I control this particular feature, the whole thing. But no, I've been into this for a very long time. And I kind of started posting with the hashtag custom ROM gang and everything. And I like, personally, I just can't stand anything else. And the eh, the just like I I was always going to do that, I know that it's kind of moved on and people don't really feel it's necessary anymore, but like I like the privacy features and everything else that get put into it and everything. And yeah, I know I'm not somebody of any great import that, but I just don't like handing over my data willy-nilly to these guys just because they want it, the data brokers. They mostly use it for benign purposes, but I'm not fond of all this and volunteering all this information to them just because they want it. It's kind of like, you want this valuable data, then, fuck you, pay me for it, and I'll be glad to give it to you. But, until you do, I'm gonna do everything I can to, crap filter and, block your little gathering scripts that you use by, using a diversity of browser add-ons and everything to make life difficult for you. But yeah, y- you know, but they're saying this and everything. They're saying that you're only going to get 2 years of hardware support, and my ultimate reaction to all that is that sucks, but I'll live with it until I am in a better position to basically upgrade and switch providers. I find this acceptable. I find that I am so individually pissed off at what I am being offered and have been given in terms of hardware, that only having that kind of shelf life in terms of hardware support is an acceptable sacrifice. In terms of software support, I mean, that's fine. I'm sticking with the Xperia because I hope they improve on this end of things, and this aspect of things improves. But I like I said, I didn't shift into the Xperia camp overnight. I didn't get so frustrated that I was willing, I got to the point where I was rejecting literally every other manufacturer. It had to get to that point, especially because something had to break the spell of, I want to use the Pixel because Pixel has graphene support, as far as a custom ROM. And that lack of micro SD card support really broke the whole spell there and forced me to look at Lineage and other alternative, custom ROMs that were available on the Android side of the equation. But, I've been a custom ROM person for a long time, like I said, and I've been doing it for a very long time and I'm familiar with it, but you know, it doesn't really matter ultimately. I mean, and like I said, I don't particularly like this aspect of things, that there's only two major upgrades, but you know, I'm willing to live with that.